Before I get into this video, I'd like to mention the TBC. So the TBC stands for Terraria Builders Community, and it's basically a great in-game server where you can meet and talk to other builders as well as build with them if you wish to. It's also got an awesome Discord server where you can look at other people's creations and talk to people. It's a great place to learn if you're looking at improving your building overall. This video is not sponsored by it, but I just like to promote it. The train build at the start was actually built a little while ago on the TBC, and the collabs that Gandalf Hardcore and I have done have been on the TBC. All details in this video will be completely vanilla. I'll just be doing a couple of tricks like turning every second grate off, or by using negative paint on jungle grass to make lightning for a pod racer. If you do have any questions, let me know in the comments and I'll be sure to answer them though. The first thing I want to talk about in this video is using big, medium and small shapes. So it sounds really simple, but people when they start trying to create vehicles, they use a lot of very similar sized shapes and it makes things have a much weaker design. Another thing that they do is they add one big shape and a bunch of real small stuff, and it just looks a lot less appealing than using big, medium and small shapes with your designs. Most vehicles are made up of big, medium and small shapes instead of just a heap of very similar sized shapes. Even people are made of big, medium and small parts. Even an arm, if you take an arm and you make each part of the arm the same size, it becomes a lot less appealing and a much weaker design. But if you think about things in big, medium and small, you're going to end up with stronger designs. If you look at a pod racer, at the front is a big as engine, then it's got small thin ropes that are usually attached at the top and then a medium sized part at the back. If you make the front and the back the exact same size, you got a much weaker shape. But before you rush into making pod racer like this one, let's talk about some more stuff. Adding overlap in your designs will make them look more interesting and feel less like they're a bunch of pieces glued together. It can be a really good way of changing things up and making it feel more interesting than having everything flush. You'll also need some overlap to create some of your favorite designs and vehicles from other games. Painting a vehicle in multiple colors can make it more interesting than in one flat color, or if you are going to paint it in one flat color, an easy way as well is to paint it in that color and then leave some metallic features unpainted, like using white, gray or black paint. The best way to build, in my opinion as well, is if you want each of your buildings to look different, is to first think about what type of building or what type of vehicle it is and what type of functional things you can add to it. It's the same with both buildings and vehicles. If you want to make a shop, what details does just a shop have, not a house have? And then by adding them in, your shops won't look like your houses won't look like your shops, your petrol stations won't look like your houses, your seafood restaurants won't look like your other restaurants, your churches won't look like your houses. So if we want to make our pod racer not look so much like our other vehicles, we can play with the shape, but it's better to try and get the unique functions of a pod racer in there. So like the two double engines, things like the purple lightning. So we could do it in a different perspective, like a bird's eye perspective, or we could just build a little bit of depth in there and do the other pod next to it. Because both the builders Giblish and Psychorax already built pod racers in this kind of perspective, today we're going to go and talk about one in the bird's eye perspective. Also because I don't want to talk about doing it in layers in this video, I want to talk about another video talking about layers and depths because it is a bit of a rabbit hole. You could actually mix perspectives because this one could be up on its side overtaking the others. The easiest way to build a vehicle is start with the basic shapes and then slowly add more and more shapes, thinking about where the functional things are, like where the booster is going to be, where's the cockpit, and just start adding and removing big, medium, small shapes to break it down what your pod racer is going to look like, and then you can fill in those shapes. By not filling them in at the start, you're going to be able to save time in not having to redesign the whole thing multiple times. As I filled it in, I used both walls and blocks together, and I still kept playing with the shape though when I was filling it in. But the stronger the starting shape that you get, the stronger your end result's going to be, and the less you're going to need to play with it as well. I could have gone in multiple ways with this mech, but I went in kind of like a snow type of thing with little snowshoes, and then once I filled it in, I went again further to add more details and enhance the build a lot more as well. You also need to make sure you remove the black outlines, and this works with every kind of vehicle. Hit the basic shapes first and then fill them in.